Hi, this is a Bosch fridge, two-door fridge, very popular in South Africa. It's a self-defrosting or auto frost. If you have a look on the inside here, it's got a little fan motor, and this is the coil with a heating element for the self-defrosting. And the self-defrosting is controlled through a microprocessor or little PC board, which we find inside there. Now, we find a lot of these PC boards go faulty, and they are available, we can replace them, but they're very costly, and there is a much more cost-effective way to repair this. We disconnect the PC board from the system, and we control the self-defrosting, the temperature and everything with three mechanical parts: a defrost timer, a thermostat, and a defrost termination switch or a clickson. And I'll show you how I replace this PC board with those three parts. The thermostat we use, this is a normal single door thermostat. This one is by Danfoss, but any single door thermostat works. And we're going to mount this thermostat here, which will go underneath this cover, and there's enough space for the thermostat to fit here, and the defrost timer we're going to fit later. Now, this thermostat has got this probe that we would like to mount inside to pick the temperature up. And how I do that is I take a drawer and I just do a little hole in the plastic here, and I take a normal welding rod that we use for welding, I stick it in the hole and I tap it until the welding rod protrudes out the other side, which makes a little hole. Then what I do is I roll this thermostat off and this bulb off, and I get it nice and straight. And what I do is I ask someone else to pull that rod out, and as they pull it out, I stick this through the hole so it comes out the other side. Okay, there, now I've got the probe reasonably straight, and we're going to try and put it in. Okay, John, trek hom. Trek hom heeltemal uit. Uit. Ja. Okay, gaan daar agter. Okay. Now we've got it in like this. If you want to come and have a look at the back. The probe is out like this now. Now the second thing we do is we make a second hole down here that goes into the freezer, and we'll pull it through. Now we've got the welding rod to the freezer, and we'll stick this in there. Okay, John, gaan. Okay. Once we've got it up to there, I take a knife and I just make a slit here, and when we pull it through, the bulb will go underneath. Okay, John, trek hom die bulb binne in die vriezer. Trek? Ja, trek. Trek. Nog 'n bietjie. Okay, stop. Okay, now all we left with is a little slit here, and come look inside. Now the thermostat bulb comes through inside the freezer, and there's our thermostat, and all we do with this, we just curl it up and we leave it here, and that will pick up the temperature. Now we've mounted the thermostat, there's the little sensor there. The second thing we do is a defrost termination switch, or some people call it a clickson. What this does is this is a heating element, and that's one, and when this heater comes onto defrost, it melts the ice, and this is a safety device that once the ice is melted and there's heat here, this will switch the element off. Now before, this fridge had an electronic sensor there that did that. These are the wires that plugs in, and these wires actually just go straight through to here. So once we've mounted the timer and the thermostat, we can just feed these things with power from here, and we will mount this defrost termination switch on here and connect the wires to here for the defrost, and then also the fan motor, which is the right hand two contacts, we will connect onto the timer through here, and I'll show you how I connect it. Okay, now I've made up the little wires. What I've done is made a little bridge piece like this, and on the defrost clickson I've made it like this. Now what we do is there's actually two heating elements in this. This is the one in the drain, and this is the one, the main defrost element. This is a sensor which we're not going to use anymore. So what I do is I plug this into the drain element and one into the main element, and this lug here we will plug into one of these plugs which will link up here with the defrost. And we do exactly the same with this termination switch. We plug one plug into the other plug, and we plug one in here. And this, what I'll do is I'll tape this so it doesn't short, and these two wires here we're going to plug in here, and that's going to be your defrost. Okay, here we've connected all the wires now. The defrost termination switch, I've clamped it onto this pipe here, and I've used some of this foil tape just to tape the wires. These connections will be live, but they're not touching, and nobody is ever going to come in here, so there's no chance of a short here. And we use those two for the defrost. Here's the thermostat I put in. This thermostat sensor will maintain the ambient temperature in this freezer of somewhere between -10 and -25, which is sufficient for this. The only problem we find with this, the air that goes to the bottom to the fridge comes out of this vent here, and this vent is controlled through the PC board. So what we do is we're going to just jam this vent open until we find the right temperature, and we will control both fridge and freezer with this thermostat here. I've made up a little bridge piece which we're going to run between the defrost timer and the thermostat, and I've put little lugs on, but in that fridge, if you're scared that the live lug will be exposed, we take a little piece of heat shrink which we stick on there, and we just heat it up with a heat gun. And there it makes a nice little skirt there, and we do another one for the other side. Slide it on, and just a little bit of heat. Okay, now this wire here, we're going to run this one from the thermostat, and the other side will plug into the defrost timer, but we'll get to that later. The defrost timer that we're going to use, and we're going to connect it up here. So I've made another connection with this purple wire that goes onto for the defrost, and we're just going to connect everything else, and then once we've done this, we slide into the cover with the thermostat. It will be completely hidden, but once we've wired everything, I'm going to run it on test with this open to adjust the temperature. Once we get a suitable temperature, then we close it up, and nobody will know that the electronic PC board doesn't control it, except for the little scar at the back where the thermostat went through. Okay, now we've just plugged the fridge on. I've connected all the wires. We don't use all of the wires because there's certain features that we don't use. Now it's starting to freeze, it's getting cold. This is the switch for the light, but because this cover is upside down, the light shines. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just test the defrost. So I will connect the fan up. Now the fan is the very right hand contact. We'll plug it in, and we'll just let this thing freeze maybe for an hour or so, and then manually I'll turn this timer onto defrost, and we'll just see the element comes on, and when the heat reaches this termination switch, it must cut the power off the element, and then we know the defrost's fine, and then we can mount. There's another cover that comes between this, but we'll put that in later, and then our freezer is done, and then we just need to get to the fridge to get it to the right temperature. Okay, we've plugged the fan wire in, so now the fan is turning. So there we got the fan turning, and it's starting to freeze. So this is still live, so we'll just take it out the way so we can close the door. Run it for a few hours, and I'll just put a weight on top of the switch so the light doesn't shine all the time. So once we've checked the defrost, we'll carry on. Okay, this fridge has been running for an hour now, and this is the defrost timer. We just rotate this onto defrost. There, it makes a clicking sound. And then you see the fan stopping, and we move the fan wires. And then we feel the heat on the defrost elements. We can feel the defrost elements are extremely hot. The ice is busy melting off. The drain element is hot as well. And the defrost termination switch isn't hot yet, but once this all heats up, that will switch off. So we're pretty confident that the defrost works fine. So we're going to go ahead and assemble the freezer now. Okay, now I have assembled the whole inside of the freezer. The fan is turning, and this chamber here is where the fan blows the air down into the fridge section to cool the fridge down. All the cold air is generated here. 80% of it goes into the freezer and 20% goes down to the fridge. And I've put a thermometer, a little digital thermometer in the fridge and one in the freezer. Fridge has been running for a half an hour now. We got -9 in the deep freeze and +9 in the fridge. So far so good. Okay, this fridge has been running for about an hour and a half now. We got -22 in the freezer and there's 2.2 in the fridge, which is a nice temperature. And we'll turn back on the thermostat, and about a quarter turn from the off position it switches off. So we're just going to leave it like that and just see if it maintains those sort of temperatures. We're happy, and then we'll put everything together, but we let it cycle a few times to make sure. Now what I've done is the timer and the thermostat is inside this cover now, so it's hidden away. The freezer works fine, the fridge works fine, the automatic defrost is controlled through the timer. Inside the cover, the thermostat is inside. It maintains a nice temperature. This display doesn't work anymore, but normally I leave the power cord onto the display, so all the lights still shine. But on this one, the power supply to the PC board is faulty, so we're just leaving it off, otherwise it would just flash. But this fridge will work like normal now. And the cost of the PC board in relation to the cost of the timer and the thermostat and the termination switch we put in is at least R1,000 cheaper doing it this way. Thank you.